We spend many hours and many dollars on triathlon training and equipment, but all that only pays off if we can stay healthy up to race day. Now, as triathletes, we are generally guilty of assuming that we are already healthy and that box is already checked because we're so fit and we're training every day, of course we're healthy. But actually, paying a bit of attention to some simple health tips can make a big difference to your consistency in training. Head into a big training block or leading up to your race. What's the point of being super fit if you aren't healthy? It's time to take a look at all the small things that add up so you can stay healthy and consistent and get ready to train hard and race well. Here's Heather with our first tip: sleep consistency.
I think we're all aware of the importance of good quality sleep on our overall health, but recently there's been some interesting studies coming out with the importance of consistency. So that time that we go to bed and the time that we get up, and the more consistent we can make that, it's been proven that it actually means we can fall asleep more quickly, but also get into that deep sleep and stay in that deep sleep for longer. So basically, consistency is key here, and it does allow you to spend longer in the deep sleep and the REM stages, which are those points in the sleep where you're really recovering from the previous day's stresses. Well, it all sounds rather enticing, but it might be easier said than done, especially when you're training for 3 sports in triathlon. For example, you might, on a few mornings a week, have an early morning swim session, or one evening you might have a late night run club, and then that does become much more of a challenge. Now, it's been suggested that you try to keep within 30 minutes of your normal go to bed and get up time, which might not be possible, but if you keep that in mind, you can try to tailor and make small adaptations as much as possible. For example, if you've got an evening run, then can you eat earlier? What can you do to make sure that you can wind down as quickly as possible and get into that sleep mode so you can soon get to bed as close to your normal time as possible? Same for swimming in the morning. Can you pack your bags, have everything organized so that A, you don't have to get up quite so early, but B, you can make sure that you sleep without too much fear of that morning alarm. And I'm afraid this does include weekends. As much as a lie-in might just sound delightful, it won't benefit you in the long run. You're best to try and stick to your usual get-up time, or within that sort of 30-minute window. Then if you are still tired or you want a nap, then keep that to around 20 to 30 minutes and try to have it before or at least by mid-afternoon. And then we need to address light at either end of the day. First thing in the morning, or as soon as you can realistically possibly do, it's great to get some natural light to help to kickstart that circadian rhythm and just prepare your body for the day ahead. And the same goes in the opposite direction at the other end of the day. So once it gets close to bedtime, you want to start dimming the lights and try to avoid any screen time or blue lights for at least an hour before bed. And these are all small changes, but they will start to make a difference.
Avoid ultra-processed food. I should probably actually say limit or reduce ultra-processed food. As athletes, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking we can eat anything because we're not fat and we're burning so many calories. But actually, if you eat too many ultra-processed foods, you're going to be limiting the amount of good foods you take in and limiting the amount of vitamins and minerals that you need in your diet, those good calories. We often use the term processed food, but that actually means anything that is not in its original form and includes things like bread and pasta. The next step on is ultra-processed food, and that is food that is nowhere near its original form, something that is made up of ingredients that you probably wouldn't find in your kitchen cupboard. And these are the types of foods that you want to reduce, limit, or even avoid. Remember that the closest to its natural form a food is, the more nutrients and vitamins and minerals it has in it, and the easier your body will be able to extract those vitamins and minerals from the food. In fact, the latest research says that you should include up to 30 fruits and vegetables in your diet per week. Now that might sound like a crazy amount, but actually when you include herbs and nuts and seeds into that list, you'll be surprised how quickly it adds up to 30 in a week. Ultra-processed foods create more stress on your body as it tries to break down and digest those foods. Or to flip that around, healthy foods reduce the amount of inflammation caused by your diet and reduce the amount of stress on your body, which is always a good thing when you're an athlete and trying to stay healthy. One of the more simple measures to improve our health is staying hydrated. Hydration is already drilled into us as athletes. We all know the importance of hydration for performance, but hydration is also vital for our health. After all, our bodies are made up of 60% water, and our cells rely on it for all of their functions. Staying hydrated also has an added benefit for your health, and that is that it keeps your mucous membranes in your nose and your mouth lubricated, and that prevents viruses and bacteria from getting into your system. It is the first line of defense in your immune system. Also, a body that is dehydrated has to work harder to fight any illnesses or bacteria that do get in, and so will be less effective at doing that. All of the above points are related to reducing the stress on our bodies. We often think of stress as that thing that you feel when things aren't going so well in your life or your work life or your personal life. But actually, it's a bit more to it than that. Stress is anything that puts some strain on your body. And as athletes, we are constantly putting a physical stress on our body. So if you aren't sleeping well, eating well, and taking care of that psychological stress, the additional strain can just be too much and push you over the edge towards unhealthy. Managing stress levels is an important part of staying healthy as an athlete. Now, you've got to understand that all the types of stress, emotional, psychological, physical, all end up in the same pot. So if you are in a position where there is additional stress emotionally or additional stress psychologically, it may be worth backing off your training for a little bit to reduce the physical stress you're putting on your body while your body deals with the other stresses, so that you don't go over the edge and get ill. Closely related to reducing stress and sleep patterns is the timing of your meals. Eating at regular times allows you to get into a regular sleep pattern and sleep better at night. And this obviously plays a most significant part in the evening. Timing your evening meal to 2 to 3 hours before you go to bed will allow you to relax and get to sleep after that meal. Now, obviously, if you train in the evening, this becomes tricky, but what you could do is have your main meal earlier in the day and then have just something small in the evening after your main session. Again, we know the importance of fueling pre and post sessions, but the post session is really important to boost your immune system. Make sure your body has the fuel to recover and also prevent a dip in that immune system. And if you're doing really long sessions, you therefore need to fuel during the session so you can get a head start on that recovery afterwards. And if you're someone who is into fasted training, then be aware that you're adding additional stress not only to your body, but also to your immune system by doing that. Here's another tip from Heather.
Well, we focused on health of the immune system and keeping bugs at bay, but overall health does not end there. In order for your body to perform optimally, you need to look at the bigger picture. And by that, I mean looking at mobility work and some activation. And you want to make sure you're activating those key muscles. And I don't just mean the large muscles, because they'll obviously be being worked in your day-to-day training. I'm talking more about the core muscles and those stabilizers that will allow you to swim, bike, and run that much more efficiently. And remember that prevention is always better than cure. As boring as it might seem, see it as a bit of an investment. And if you have time or capacity to fit in some yoga or some Pilates, well, that's not just going to be great conditioning for the body, but also relaxation for the mind.
Breathing. Now, you might be thinking I should have just left this video on the last point because this is all going a little bit too hippie, but hear me out. Now, obviously we all know how to breathe, and we do it every day in training. In fact, we breathe quite hard in training. But breathing is about more than that, and breath work can actually make a big difference to how well you recover and how well you breathe outside of training. And that can have a good impact on your stress levels and also helping to promote oxygenated blood getting to all areas of your body, making you recover better, but also making you generally healthier. Heather mentioned yoga a moment ago, and that includes breath work. And we've already mentioned how reducing your stress and improving your sleep all helps with your general health and well-being, and therefore including breath work can actually be something that's quite beneficial for triathletes, even if you are breathing hard every day in your triathlon. It's important to remember in all of this that after a hard training session, your immune system is temporarily suppressed. So anything you can do to help it in that period is going to be beneficial. Things like all the things we mentioned, but also avoiding crowded public spaces shortly after a high intensity, hard session is going to help you just stay healthy for a little bit longer. Staying healthy so that you can do your training is a vital part of being consistent and getting fit and getting the most out of your performance. We hope these tips today have helped you to stay healthy. If you've had health problems in the past, we'd love to hear about them and how you fixed them. We always like to hear from our audience. Remember to give this video a like if you've enjoyed it and subscribe so you don't miss any more of our videos on triathlon training.